That is 5 straight wins for your Detroit Tigers in a weird day with the Matt Manning situation and all that surrounding the game. Still being able to not only pull out a win, but not give up very much offense against the Kansas City Royals. Successful day. 5th straight win, a win away from guaranteeing that we won't lose 100. We're going to talk about it today on Locked On Tigers.
You are Locked On Tigers, your daily Detroit Tigers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of Locked On Tigers. I'm, of course, your host, Scott Bentley. Today is Thursday, September 29th, 2022. Thank you for making Locked On Tigers your every single day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcasts, including YouTube. Okay, so as we said in the cold open, the Detroit Tigers win their 5th straight game. Winning game 2 of this series against Kansas City by a score of 2-1 in Comerica Park. So right off the bat, we have some, I guess you'd call it drama with this game. Whatever, 5 minutes before the first pitch, we start having some drama with this one as Matt Manning, who was the scheduled starter in this game, does not take the mound. And instead, Will Vest takes the mound. And Matt Manning went through all of his pregame warm-up stuff. He went through his entire routine. And then it was time for him to take the mound. And they didn't. And Will Vest, who is notably a one-inning starter, took the mound instead. And the Tigers still, in a game in which that happened, win by a score of 2-1. Really impressive showing. So we're going to start with the pitching because that was easily the highlight of the night. And look, this was not a perfect performance by any stretch. The Tigers gave up a lot of base runners. A lot. 2 men on, bases loaded. It seemed like almost every single inning. They gave up 10 hits and 6 walks. They gave up 16 base runners. And yet only gave up 1 run, which is all that matters at the end of the day. So we will gladly take it. But this wasn't some masterclass. Oh my goodness, that we didn't have our starter and everybody went out there and just absolutely shoved. But everybody did get the job done. And like I said, that's really the important thing. And that's what matters at the end of the day. Will Vest, as we talked about, started this game, went 1 inning, 3 hits, 1 earned run, no walks, no Ks. Gave up a home run, 5 pitches into the game. I don't know, really. He's not a starter, and he had to start a game. And I know he's only pitched 1 inning, but that's certainly not his comfort zone, going out there and starting a baseball game. So given everything and given the fact that he gave up 3 hits, not a bad day at the office, right? Could have been worse. Certainly could have been worse. I don't know. He threw mostly the 4-seam fastball. I think he was just trying to guarantee himself that he was going to throw strikes and not throw 30 pitches in an inning. And he ended up throwing 20 anyway, so it wasn't that effective. But I don't know. Given the I'm not going to be too hard on the dude. This was not what he signed up for. When he woke up this morning, he thought he was just normal Will Vest. And no, 5 minutes before first pitch, he's asked to just get thrown into the fire, kind of. I don't know. I'm not going to be too critical of his performance, but got out of the inning with only 1 run given up. So I guess we'll take it. Daniel Norris then follows him, goes 2 innings, 1 hit, no earned runs, no walks, and 1 strikeout. This is where I think Daniel Norris, the rest of his professional career, is going to fall in this, well, not this specific, but I think this role will be his role going forward wherever he ends up with the future of his baseball career. I think that piggybacking off the starter and that kind of long middle relief role where maybe your starter gets punched in the mouth early, you need someone to carry you from the 3rd or 4th inning into the back end of the bullpen. Starter gets hurt, something like this happens. or just, high pitch count. Dude gets pulled after 4, maybe even 5 innings, and Daniel Norris can go out there and give you 2 innings and kind of be the bridge reliever, as I like to call it. So I think that that's probably his role going forward. He was pretty effective in this one. He mixed his pitches very well, which I was pretty impressed with. But nothing crazy in his performance. But again, got the job done. Only allowed one base runner. So kudos to Daniel Norris. Garrett Hill then pitches the 2 innings after that, gives up 2 hits, no earned runs, 2 walks, and 3 strikeouts. This was a pretty hit or miss performance from him, no pun intended, except actually very intended, because that's literally what we're talking about. Very fastball heavy, but got a surprising amount of whiffs in 2 innings. That's 7 whiffs in just 2 innings. Was really effective with the swing and miss stuff. The 4-seam fastball, especially. Again, we talk about all the time. Once you get more comfortable, that fastball, you kind of get more comfy throwing it up in the zone, and that can lead to swings and misses. That's exactly what we saw in this one. Excuse me. And I was pretty impressed. Left command was shaky at times. Left a changeup over. They got a little too much of the plate. And then a couple, I think 2 fastballs that really were not anywhere near where he wanted them and caught too much of the plate and got hit pretty hard. But besides that, the only thing was just the walks and then the swing and miss stuff led to 3 strikeouts in 2 innings, which is obviously a great number. So not a bad performance by him either. Very solid. Again, solid enough. It was consistently throughout this entire game. We're going to let a few base runners on, but then, we're going to get out of it. And we're going to have 2 men on and 1 out, and then we're going to get out of it. And we're going to have the bases loaded with 2 outs, and we're going to get out of it. It was very consistent and reoccurring theme the entire inning. Like I said, Royals had 16 base runners and only scored 1 run. So good clutch pitching. In an ideal world, you would like, them not to get on base in the first place, but still very, very impressive nonetheless, given this situation to do what they did and string together an outing in which they only gave up 1 run. I will gladly take that. All of these dudes deserve a ton of credit, kind of all out of their element, except for the back inning guys. Really, really impressive outing. Chris Fetter, obviously, we sing his praises all the time. In my eyes, the one of, if not the best pitching coach in the game of baseball. So yeah, whole staff, players, coaching staff, management, everybody deserves a ton of credit for this performance, kind of being able to string this together in a meaningless end of the season, week left in the season, September game for the between the Tigers and Royals. Still being able to do this and have an effective night is very impressive. Jose Cisnero then pitched in this one. I mean, this is the kind of stuff I'm talking about, man. Like he struggles so much where he can't even get out of the inning, and yet his ERA still goes down. Like that, I can't describe it. I can't explain it anymore. It's just that's been Jose Cisnero this season. He almost threw 30 pitches, only recorded 2 outs, gave up 2 walks and a hit, but had a strikeout. And then Chafin came in and got the final out, and didn't cause any earned runs against himself, obviously, or Jose Cisnero. And that's just been what Cisnero has been doing kind of all year. Maybe not this dramatically, but this has kind of been his story, is just bend, don't break. And credit, he hasn't broke very often. ERA is 1.23. Count on me. You know what I mean? Like that's impressive, obviously, but I don't know. It's not a very dominant, certainly not, and would like to see the old Chafin, Cisnero. I miss the old Jose Cisnero. I really do. And there have been some outings this year where we've seen it too. So I don't want to make it sound like it's just been a whole, like, again, he has a 1.23 ERA. That's not bad, obviously. And there's been some glimpses. It's very not consistent in the last week or so. It certainly hasn't been consistent. We'll get into the last two. Alex Lang and Gregory, that's his name, Soto. Right after I tell y'all about our friends over at Blue Chew. Blue Chew is a unique online service that delivers the same active ingredients as Viagra and Cialis, but in chewable tablets and at a fraction of the cost. You can take them anytime, day or night. so you can plan ahead or be ready whenever an opportunity arises. The process is simple. Sign up at bluechew.com, consult with one of our licensed medical providers, and once you're approved, you'll receive your prescription within days. The best part? It's all done online. No visits to the doctor's office, no awkward conversations, no waiting in the line at the pharmacy. Blue Chew's tablets are made in the USA and prepared and shipped directly to your door in a discreet package. So, if you could benefit from an extra confidence boost when it's time to perform, chew it and do it. And we've got a special deal for our listeners. Try Blue Chew for free when you use our promo code Locked On at checkout. Just pay $5 for shipping. That's bluechew.com. Promo code Locked On to receive your first month for free. Visit bluechew.com for more details and important safety information. And we thank Blue Chew for sponsoring this podcast. All right, everybody. Welcome back here to segment 2 of Locked On Tigers. Thank you for making us your first listen every single day. Free and available wherever you get your podcast, including YouTube. You know the drill. Last two pitchers that pitched in this 2-1 victory for your Detroit Tigers were Alex Lange and Gregory Soto. Alex Lange in this one gave up a couple of base runners, but then was able to tightrope his way out of danger, much like literally everybody else that pitched in this game for the Detroit Tigers. Now, the weird is maybe too dramatic of a word, but the intriguing part of Alex Lange's performance was not the command slipping up for a couple of batters. That's something that we have seen a lot from him this year and something he's going to have to tighten up going forward. The thing is, he threw the changeup a boatload, and that's not something we've really seen all year. We've seen outings in which he's been very sinker heavy because it's one of the best sinkers in the game of baseball. He has a plethora of times, a lot this season, more times than anything else. We've seen him throw the curveball more than any other pitch in an outing because it is arguably the most unhittable curveball in the game of baseball when looking at how often it's swung and missed at. The changeup, we haven't really seen him just go out there and throw a ton of changeups. 8 of his 15 pitches, over half of his pitches in this outing were all the changeup. And it's a nasty pitch, and I love it. And he got 2 swings and misses on it, and it was beautiful. But it was new to me. It wasn't something I really expected. And as I was watching it, it moved me. It moved me. And I was like, wow, I kind of like that. Get people out on their front foot. Maybe they're thinking sinker. Okay, well, we're going to throw the changeup, which is 7-8 miles an hour lower in, I just forgot the word. Pitch velocity. Goodness, I don't know why I forgot the word velocity there. We'll take a little bit of gas off of it, throw it kind of similar-ish movement, but much slower, get people off on their front foot. Maybe they're sitting curveball. This is a little more straight. Maybe I can get some called strikes with it. I like the idea of it. And again, the command was really not there in this one, and that was the biggest thing hindering him from a perfect inning. 2 base runners, not great, but I liked it. And I would like to see him experiment with stuff like that for the last week of the season because why not? Let's just see what else we can do with your crazy, unbelievable stuff, Alex Lange. And then Gregory Soto closes the door. He looked absolutely fantastic, which, of course he did because that's just how Gregory Soto is. So, he looked unbelievable. The sinker was the pitch that was, as usual, the most thrown. It was very effective. It didn't even get put in play, and it got whiffed 3 times in an inning, right? He threw the sinker 3 times. Sorry, he threw the sinker 6 times. 3 of those times were swings and misses. Lethal pitch, very effective, was dotting it too, got 2 called strikes on the sinker. I mean, it was pretty much unhittable. So, very effective outing, very efficient outing, which is not something we get to say very often when talking about Greg. And yeah, he was awesome, and he put the bow on a fantastic display by this pitching staff. A performance where, again, none of these dudes at the beginning of the game signed up for this, and yet they went out there and gave up base runners. The whole team really Bend don't break. That was kind of the motto. That's what everybody did, and big ups, because that's not a very easy thing to do, and to have that mindset and just be able to go out and do that and only give up a run and that type of situation is very difficult. So big props to everybody. Like I said, staff, coaches, management, players, obviously the biggest tip of the cap. Great performance. Cool moment at the end of the season. Offensively, now this is where the tone kind of changes. I didn't think this was a very good offensive performance. The Tigers had 6 hits, 2 walks, both by Eric Haas, so 8 base runners total in this game. Eric Haas had a great game with a hit and 2 walks, so 3 of the 8 men you had on base were all Eric Haas. And besides that, there was not a whole lot going for the Tigers offense. Riley Green with a hit, Javi Baez with a hit, Willie Castro with a hit, and then obviously the big fella, Miguel Cabrera, goes 2 for 4 with the long ball. Um, yeah, we'll do the rest of the offense, and then we'll do Miggy. Yeah, the biggest thing with this was just they the same thing we have seen so often, where it's just bad at bats. It's just not even competitive. They're taking pitches that are strikes, and then they're swinging at pitches out of the zone. There doesn't seem to be much of a game plan. I mean, literally from Torkelson to Victor Reyes, there was one base runner. That's your 5 through 9 hitters in a lineup. You had one base runner, 0 walks, 1 hit by Willie Castro. It's unacceptable stuff. You're not going to win too many ball games when that's the reality of the situation, and that is why the Tigers find themselves fighting to avoid an 100-loss season, because that has happened quite a lot. And I mean, talking individually, Willie, I think he's a big question mark for the future of this team. Ryan Kreidler, we've talked about a lot lately. I think he'll be in the running for maybe a super utility infield spot, but he certainly won't be an everyday starter on opening day next year at the major league level. Jamer Candelario, Ofer, I think he's a very real non-tender candidate. I think that's a very real possibility, and dare I say, even likely. I will have to kind of get a feeler for Scott Harris and this offseason and see maybe what he's thinking on it a little bit more. But eventually, he's just going to make the decision, and then we'll know what he was thinking on it. So I guess there's that. And then Victor Reyes, the perennial fourth outfielder that we can't seem to. Not that he's the perennial fourth outfielder that always ends up playing way more than a fourth outfielder should for whatever reason, because he's performing, because he's actually doing better than the people we have in the outfield, because of injuries, because of missed time, whatever it may be. He always finds his way back into a somewhat of at least a semi-starting role. And so we'll see if that changes this offseason going into next year as well. But I mean, this kind of it just can't happen. You can't have the entire bottom half of your lineup just completely ineffective. And that's been the story way too many times this season. Spencer Torkelson, 0 for 4 with 2 Ks. I said it yesterday. I'll say it again. When he first got called up, he was looking really solid. And then all of a sudden, like 3 days ago happened. And now we're back at a point where, I mean, again, in this game, this is 2 nights in a row where he got a pretty significant amount of hangers down the middle, fastballs down the middle, whatever, and just can't do anything with them. Not great. Not great. So that's certainly the biggest thing he's got to work on, is just being able to hit mistake pitches. He was doing it for a little bit, and now we're back to where we were pre-send down and kind of where we were in the first half of the season. I said this yesterday too, just want someone to just like consistently get better and grow throughout the season and not have this, oh, like, are they ever going to recover moment? Okay. Let's talk about Miguel Cabrera. And then just kind of baseball, honestly, at the end. We will do that right after this. What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another segment, our third and final segment of Locked On Tigers. Okay, Tigers win 2-1. Miguel Cabrera with the home run, 2 RBIs. Fantastic, man. Who knows how many of those we have left, Who knows? Who knows how many of those moments we have left in the tank? You know, man, 5 home runs on September 28th. It's tough. It's tough to swallow. It's tough to really accept if you were around and watching religiously during his prime. That's tough to even comprehend. And I know we're I guess used to it is the right word. We've kind of become conditioned to just like where he is now because the decline was so hard and the injuries were so prevalent and the last few years have been what they are. Um, but just think about back like around when he signed the extension and just like back in the, MVP years. Just being like, yeah, his last couple years as a Tiger, like is gonna hit 5 home runs. It's tough. Tough to accept, tough to swallow, but not because of like not tough to accept because it's Miggy's fault necessarily. Just tough because I was a kid and I thought he was everything. He was the pinnacle of athletes, just period. He was untouchable, right? He was almost not real. And now we're seeing that like he is human. And that's just for people that are, around my age and I was in high school for a lot of his dominance, but like when he came over, I was in middle school and just like seeing his whole career arc of being a Detroit Tiger and coming over and then like the move to third, right? That was like the big thing when we got Prince Fielder and he had to play like third a little bit and then he didn't end up playing that much third, but like when he did, it wasn't great, but like no one cared because he was like the Triple Crown winner and winning MVPs. And what a career. What a legend. Love that man. You know, I don't know, the counter in left field every time he does anything. I mean, sure, why not? Some people seem to like it. Seems to be a cool photo op. Why not? Let's who cares at this point? Let's just give the fans what they want, give Miggy what he wants. As far as his future with the team, that's going to have to be a conversation him and Scott Harris have. I have a very hard time believing that Illich, knowing the kind of money that's involved with a farewell tour and money aside, just the farewell tour that he deserves, that, his career is going to end in a week. I don't think that that's true. But always kind of looming and always in the back of people's minds, like, how close are we really to the end here? And I think next year he'll just be in a super limited role, maybe platoon against just lefties or something, DH against lefties. I don't know. Maybe like start twice a week, once a week. Who knows? Depends on how his body's able to hold up. But that's the man. That's the man forever. Gonna have his number retired in Comerica Park. Statue conversation. Never winning a ring. Kind of tough to the statue argument, but at the same time, it's Miguel Cabrera, greatest Tiger of a generation. One of the three, undoubtedly three greatest Tigers hitters of all time. I don't know. Hard not to really put him in consideration there. So just I always like reflecting on just Miguel Cabrera as a whole whenever we get, and it's so like he just hit a homer in the first inning. Like it's not like he had a walk off or had a crazy thing, but like we just don't know how many home runs are left. Like genuinely, he had 5 this year. Like we really don't know how many of those are left. So I always like to reflect and just really appreciate the Miguel Cabrera experience and Miguel Cabrera, the baseball player, whenever we get any flash of Miggy being Miggy. So I think that's kind of it for this game, to be honest. Noteworthy. We're going to talk about it because this is a baseball show. Aaron Judge hits his 61st home run. As I'm recording this, he has 61. I guess maybe he'll go deep again in his next at bat. But I'm recording this right after the Tigers game, actually right after the Red Wings game, which ended a little bit after the Tigers game. So yeah, I maybe he'll hit 62 tonight, but very cool moment. Um, not the MLB record, should be noted, but the American League record, the Yankee record. Maris is like the three people in baseball history that have passed Maris. There's a lot of people like to put asterisks and clauses and around them. So still just really cool to see. Maris is like the benchmark for a single season home run greatness, and it forever will be because of how big of a deal it was at the time. And it's awesome to see. I love the game of baseball so unbelievably much. And anytime you get a moment like that, the Albert Pujols 700 last week, right? Same thing. Anytime you get a chance to witness baseball history, just so pumped. It's so awesome to see. And I will be watching that. The Giancarlo Stanton moment was my favorite, to be honest with you. The kind of gave a side eye to Stanton and smiled and winked at him. And then Stanton kind of shook his head and winked at him back. And then he took the little cup of water. And they both filled up and gave a cheers. Stanton, obviously, 59 home runs. His MVP season is last year in Miami. Just really cool to see. I personally am more excited. I don't know if this is a hot take or not. I'm more excited for 62 than I was 61. 61's great. And like he tied it, and that's awesome. And that's like super cool and whatnot. But I care much more about 62 than I do 61. I need to see him stand alone atop of the American League, and the New York Yankee record is not the MLB record. Whether you like it or not, it's just not. But very cool to see, and I'm so pumped for 62. I already wasn't missing a Judge at bat because of the chase to 61. I will certainly not be missing an Aaron Judge at bat the rest of the season. And a contract year, where does he rank in the greatest contract years in the history, not only of baseball, but in sports? In the history of sports, how many better contract years are there? I don't think there's many. I really don't. Very cool to see. Baseball, you are awesome. I love you so. And yeah, let's watch some more tomorrow. Day game for the Tigers tomorrow. Nice little day game. Have your evening to relax. A lot of you tell me like every single day you're not even watching the games anyway. That's fine. I do because I'm a crazy person. You enjoy your September. You don't have to subject yourself to this baseball team if you don't like to. Thank you for making Locked On Tigers your first listen every single day. Now make your second listen to Locked On MLB podcast. MLB expert Paul Francis Sullivan brings humor, passion, and his unique perspective on every team and the biggest stories from around the league. Follow the number one daily league-wide podcast, Locked On MLB, on the Odyssey app, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts. That's all I got for you. I think that's it. Yeah, go baseball, man. Go baseball. Peace and love. Going to therapy's dope. I'll catch y'all tomorrow, baby. Go Tigers.